Okay, good evening, and welcome to the City of Groton Annual Budget Meeting for Monday, June 7th, 2021. Clerk, please read the notice for voters.
Warning to electors. In accordance with Section 7(6) of the General Statutes of the State of Connecticut, as amended, only an elector of the City of Groton or a citizen of the United States of the age of 18 years or more, who jointly or severally is liable to the city for taxes assessed against him or her on an assessment of not less than $1,000 on the last completed grand list of the City of Groton, or who would be so liable if not entitled to an exemption as a blind person, a veteran, a widow, or parent of a veteran, would be entitled to vote at this meeting. All electors and citizens qualified to vote in the City of Groton Annual Budget Meeting are hereby notified and warned to assemble at the Annual Budget Meeting, City Municipal Building, 295 Meridian Street, Groton, Connecticut, on Monday, June 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m., prevailing time for the purpose of acting on the following matters.
Again, let's call the meeting to order. All electors and citizens qualified to vote in the City of Groton Annual Budget Meeting are hereby notified and warned to assemble at the Annual Budget Meeting, City Municipal Building, 295 Meridian Street, Groton, Connecticut, on Monday, June 7th, 2021 at 7 o'clock prevailing time for the purpose of acting on the following matters. General Fund anticipated reviews. The total general fund anticipated reviews are $19,992,489. General fund proposed where am I?
Appropriation.
That's it, thank you. Appropriations. Oh my gosh. Total general fund appropriations, $19,992,000 and $489. And the item one is to appropriate for the fiscal year July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, the sum for the accounts and purposes set forth in the proposed annual budget as published on the City of Groton website on May 18th, 2021, and in full at www.cityofgroton.com, and levy a tax and other incomes to cover the appropriations approved in this meeting for the fiscal year July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Said tax to be collected July 1st, 2021. I need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Emois, second by Depot. Then I'll open the floor for discussion. If you have any discussion regarding the budget, please come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak. Deb Patrick. Old habits are hard to break sometimes.
Good evening, Deborah Patrick, 8 Mellow Avenue in the City of Groton. I'm just here to piggyback on something that was brought up at the Special Committee of the Whole on April 12th by Councilor Carter regarding salaries. In the current fiscal year, the salary for the clerk was $59,099 after 22 years of training and experience. The salary that is proposed is $59,600 for the upcoming fiscal year for someone who is probably extremely capable but does not have the training or the experience in that position. I don't understand how that can happen. I also saw that there is another salary in that group on page 23 that is a nearly 5.5% increase. I do recall when asked, the HR director said that non-union employees were probably getting 2.5% across the board. So my question is, how do we justify a 5.5% increase for one person while no one else gets it? I don't work here anymore, so I'm not benefiting one way or the other from it. However, the other thing is, in these salaries, are these going to be estimates, or are these the actual salaries because I know in 2017-18, the clerk's salary was supposed to be $57,937. The actual salary that year was $55,287, a difference of about $2,600. So whatever happened to the $2,600 that was approved at the annual budget meeting that year? That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? The floor is open for comments. Okay, I will address the comments. The increase, the 5% increase, was due to the increased work and duties taken on during the COVID pandemic and the forecast for that work, for additional work that was coming on. And that's why I did that. The clerk's salary was, if you go back and look at a lot of the positions that we have hired, we have, sometimes they get lowered, sometimes they're not, but they're not, if they are lowered, they're not lowered by a significant number. And the process that we went through to nominate this clerk was more of a business process, in that we went through resumes and interviews, and it wasn't just a partisan person that was put in. And Clerk Peters was selected based on the experience that she brings with her. Although she does not have specific clerk experience, she does have some management experience, and she has customer service experience and those kind of skills, and that's why I left it where it is. The question about whether or not these are actual estimates, these are, in addition to that, the clerk is also doing planning and zoning work, which was not done in the past. And so there's additional responsibilities and duties that she has. The question about whether or not these are estimates or they're actuals, we try to use actuals, but sometimes we end up having their estimates. In the end, the money, the individual employee, in this particular case, the clerk, will be paid based on the salary that was negotiated in the beginning that we put in with our contract. And then any extra money that is in a budget then goes into the general fund. Well, okay, you're right. So the clerk is elected. The clerk is not a full-time position. And the way we've set it up now is 50% of the clerk's responsibilities is the elected position, and then 50% of the responsibilities goes to the administrative roles, and that did come with a number to it. Okay.
When you said that 5.5% increase is based on the individual responsibilities, I acknowledge your tremendous, but everyone else did too. Everyone else picked up additional responsibilities, including myself. And I don't see that I received anything additional for it. It's just part of the job.
Well, the additional responsibilities were, if you, pretty much every Zoom meeting was run by Jill. And so we had multiple meetings, and so she was here spending extra hours and had a lot of responsibility. We also had a lot of herding of cats in order to get people to the meetings, because if you remember, during the beginning of COVID, people still wanted to come together. They didn't want to go to Zoom meetings. We had to train people on Zoom. There was a challenge there because some people were not connected, so we had to get them connected and teach them about Zoom. The challenge we're going to have now is getting people to come out of Zoom back to live meetings. Mayor and council has, we are one of the first in the area to come back to live meetings. And some of our boards and commissions are coming back to live meetings, and we're going to take that. But the reason for the increase was the increased work that she did and for the increased work that she has picked up and is continuing to do. Councilor Carter, please. State your name and address.
Rashad Carter, 132 Thames Street. I'm just stepping up because I feel the need to, to address, a former clerk. I'm up here because I think it takes a lot of courage to step up and at least mention it. I think oftentimes when you're employed in a situation, you don't summon up the courage. And for her to do that now, that's kudos to her. I most certainly don't want to take away from our current clerk. I think she'll do a great job. I think if anybody was in the current clerk situation, I think Deb would have mentioned it anyway. So I don't, just not to take that personal, Lastly, I think, Councilor Norris had mentioned that, for reasons like this, I think we do need to look at ways to be a little bit more transparent, maybe some type of steps or something that we can all see, just so we don't have situations like this, That's what I wanted to say. And I also wanted to say, 26 years, 22 years, when things like this happen, you kind of don't want people to leave on a sore note, So me personally, and I'm sure I could speak for the mayor and the council, we appreciate your service, and all right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Well, hold on. We got to do the, who? Is there anybody, do you know if there's anybody here that can't vote?
Yes, there are a few non-voting. Mary in the back, this gentleman right here with the red, and then that were the only two.
It's 5? Okay, show of hands then. All right, we'll go with the show of hands. All in favor, say aye. Okay, I'll let you count this side. Megan, if you could count
Sure.
this side.
Excuse me, before we do this, normally what you do is...
Put your hands down.
Normally what you do is you have to count from the very beginning how many people are eligible to vote. Now, Delvin, you have not mentioned anything about the people that are qualified. How many, by number, are qualified to vote before you even start the process? That way you have a true and accurate account of who is voting and who is not voting. That should have been presented to you from the beginning. So I recommend before you call a vote, that you first find out how many people total are eligible, and then you go from there.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
We have 40 eligible voters.
Okay, we have 40 eligible voters. Does that address your concern?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we ready to go with the vote?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hands. Megan, if you could count on this side.
I have 16.
I have 18 over there. Do you have Rebecca? Did you get?
I got, yes.
I have 18.
That gives me 34.
All of them.
Okay, all opposed? I have one opposed, Magnolia.
And
Is there any abstentions?
1.
We have one abstention. And that is you. Okay, so 34, that goes to 36. Is there anyone who did not vote?
I don't know if we're voting on, honestly. I mean, the whole budget, when we vote, approving the whole thing.
Who didn't vote? There's one no vote. I did. I called for all in favor, raise a hand, and then I said all opposed. And then, okay,
Is there anybody who didn't vote?
so we had one no vote.
Are you abstaining? Are you not voting? I'm not. Okay, so I have another abstention. So that's what,
An abstention or no vote?
I have an abstention. She's not voting.
Okay?
And then-
I'm sorry, can we redo that, please?
Yes.
And then explain what the abstention means so everybody knows what's going on? I'm sorry, because
Juliet, what is your concern?
my concern is you didn't call for an abstention.
We
And
d-
so there's some people who didn't vote, so that would be abstaining. So if we could have them say be nay or yay, because you're asking people who didn't vote, are you not voting? So that would be an abstention.
So the three choices, do you want to explain the three choices?
Go ahead. So you have three choices. You can vote for the budget, you can vote against the budget, or you can abstain, which means you're not voting yes or no. And that includes a non-vote. Okay? Is everybody clear with that? All right, let's try this again.
Three choices, an abstention. Okay, so normally if a person does not vote, it's automatically considered a no vote. That is there, I have never heard of a three-step process. Voting.
You have all in favor, you have in favor, those opposed, and then those that abstain.
And you're saying an abstention is someone that doesn't even exist.
An abstention is somebody that did not vote yes or did not vote no. They have abstained from the vote.
So what does that position amount to? Because typically, if you have 40 people, in order for this thing to pass, you have to have a majority vote.
Correct,
Majority vote would be 21 out of 40, correct?
correct.
So I just want to understand that abstention means that they're not voting yes or no, so they're not even in the equation.
There's still counts as part of the 40.
They count as part of the 40. So we have 40 people. We have people that are voting for the budget. We have people that are voting against the budget, and then we have people that are abstaining or not voting.
So what,
So when we go to tally whether or not the vote passes, it is the number of affirmative votes that are counted that will determine if we have the majority, a simple majority.
and that majority is what percentage of the people present?
It's 51. It's a simple majority.
51%,
Correct.
which is 21 people,
Okay?
correct?
Yes. Is there anything else?
Heard it.
Well, we're following Robert's rules. I mean, we're not making this up as we go along.
I understand.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, we're going to do this again. The motion on the floor is on the budget. All in favor, say aye. Signify aye by raising your hand.
I have 18.
Would you say 18?
18 and 18.
18 and 18. Okay, put your hands down. All those that are opposed to the budget, which means you're against the budget, please raise your hand. 1, 2. Okay, so we have 2. Okay, and those people who are abstaining, meaning you are not voting or you have no vote.
3.
I have a question.
Okay, hold on. That puts
Okay.
us at 41. How many people did you say? Because 18 and 18 is 36, and then 2 against, and then 3 abstained.
I have 40 people who signed in.
Okay, well, we have 41 votes on that. We got,
I believe there was one person on here that was counted as opposed and abstaining.
Oh,
Did you raise your hand twice, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sorry. Missing the mask?
no,
No, okay.
no. We only have 2 opposed, 2
Perfect.
abstaining.
okay, that's okay.
Did anyone not sign in? Nope, I got you here.
You're crossed off.
You crossed off the other one. And I have no one on the back, and
Jill?
did the mayor sign in?
Yes. All we were going to do, since we have some confusion, Mayor,
Are you not signed in?
First one here. Did you sign in, Joe? Not actually. Well, it would be nice if you could sign in, and that will solve us, that will solve our problem. That will solve our problem.
thank you all for participating in this democratic process. Okay, so we had 41 signed in. We have 36 in favor, 2 against, 3 abstentions. Motion carries. The budget carries. Okay? So we will move on to item 2, which is to approve the minutes of the following meetings. I need a motion to approve the City of Groton annual budget meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2019. We have a motion by Duarte, second by Keeler. Paul and Howard. So is there, 1, is there any discussion? 2, are there any corrections to the minutes? We will do the vote in just a moment. My apologies for the delay. Well, are you ready to do another count? Because we're going to...
I'm ready to do another.
Okay, so what we are voting on now is the acceptance of the annual budget meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2019. So all in favor signify aye by raising your hand.
I have 15, oh, 16?
16?
I have 15.
15. Okay? All those who are opposed, raise your hand. Those that are opposed? Okay? And and now those of you that abstain from the vote, please raise your hand.
I have 3 over here, Jill.
Well, I have 31 And 3 and 5, that's 39. So there are 2 people that did not vote. You
I
voted?
catch your hand in the 4. You were up, then you went down? Okay. Yep, I counted you.
You still passed. Either way,
Okay, you're right.
we're good.
We have 31 in the affirmative, so that motion does pass. Okay, I need a motion to approve the City of Groton Freeman meeting minutes of March 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Who was, okay, Gretchen Gothier was the motion, and Deb Patrick was second.
Thank you.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by raising your hand.
I have 14.
Okay, all those who are opposed signify by raising your hand. 0.
I have none.
And all those who abstain signify by raising your hand.
I have 5.
You have 4? Oh, you have 5. Okay, that adds up to 40. So, but we got 20, we have 30 in favor, so that motion carries. All right, item 3 is to take any action on any other business which may legally come before said meeting. Is there any additional information that should come before this body of Freeman tonight? Okay, seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Duarte, second by Parker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming out. So that completes the portion of the meeting for the annual budget. We are now going to move into the public hearing. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Jill, are you ready? Okay. All right, I'm going to call the City of Groton public hearing for Monday, June 7, 2021 to order. The public comment period, this is to solicit public comment from the electors of the City of Groton and all others qualified to vote concerning the proposed sale of 80 Nathan Hale and 0 Paul Revere Road and the proposed sale of 108 Thames Street and 0 Broad Street. So, Attorney LeClaire, if I can get you to either join me or take the podium, will you need desk space? Okay. I will introduce Attorney LeClaire. He is with Bertram Moses. They are our city attorneys, and he is our attorney representing both of these properties. And then I'll let you give the overview. Sure. And then we'll open the floor for discussion.
One at a time?
Yeah, let's do one at a time.
What about
Which one do you think is going to be easier? Okay, let's do that one first. So the first one we're going to talk about is Nathan Hale, 80 Nathan Hale and 0 Paul Revere Road, which is in Groton Estates.
Thank you, Mayor.
Attorney
Again,
LeClaire.
Brian LeClaire. This involves a transaction for a vacant piece of land owned by the city in Groton Estates in that apartment complex. The lot has been valued at $45,000, and for that amount of money, it will be conveyed to the Groton Estates Corporation that owns the surrounding property. Right now, it's an empty lot with an old swing set on it. In addition to the $45,000, the city will be receiving a property in the form of an easement around Groton Estates for the continuation of the Birch Plain Trail system that's been established. That will be a missing link in the system so folks can continue through Groton Estates perimeter onto the trail system. So the city will get the $45,000 payment plus the easement over the Groton Estates property. Groton Estates, what they're planning on doing with the property is building a two-story building, no more than 2,500 square feet per story on that property. It cannot be used for residential purposes. It must be a community center, clubhouse facility for the residents, and it will have a business and a fitness center in it. So that's the use of the property by Groton Estates for those purposes.
Okay. Are there any comments, public comments, on this proposed sale of 80 Nathan Hale and 0 Paul Revere Road? Yes, ma'am. If you could come up and state your name and your address, and then if you could limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shantae Duzant, and I currently live in Groton Estates, 20 Nathan Hale. I heard about this, well, I just found out exactly what's going on, but I have had no notice of what any proposed plans were for that piece of property that is said to have an old swing set on it. And so I was kind of taken by surprise when I was going out for a walk, and I saw a post, a sign at the towards the bottom of the hill. It kind of loops around, that alerted me about this meeting and that something was happening. So I became interested, and I wanted to know what was going on with this piece of property. There is not an old swing set there. The swing set is located on Groton Estates property, which is further above. It is not old. It actually was redone, I believe, less than 2 years ago. It is a play set that is used by children that are primarily maybe 10 and under. It is a very small play set. There are some swings as well. I have 2 children. I've lived in Groton Estates for 3 years now. They play on this open field that they have. They play football, they play soccer, they play volleyball. Other families, I have seen other families use this piece of open property. We call it the open space in my home. There is nowhere around the community, which Groton Estates is a part of, for children that are older than 10 years old to take part in any kind of social activities, to be engaged with their peers, to create bonds, and anything specific for family engagement. There's nothing in that area. I think it is a missed opportunity by the city of Groton to not take that space that is owned by them and create something that could involve youth engagement, family engagement, and create more of a sense of community involvement in that area. You have Pequannock Plains, which is, not in the city of Groton, but just as an example, that community has that space to use. There is Washington Park nearby. As a mother, I don't want my kids traveling on a well-used main road to walk to Washington Park. I have to find time out of my busy schedule, and I work 3 jobs. So I have to find time to drop my kids strategically, get someone to pick them up, and it's a lot of work. And to tell you the truth, they don't make it there more than once a week, if that. Our resource in Groton Estates, as a resident and in that community, my children interact with their peers in that area. During the pandemic, a lot of people use that area, not only for sports. I saw families out there with picnicking. It's not the best area, it has an incline, but I think that Groton Estates could use that $45,000 to create something for its residents that might be more useful. A fitness center, to me, okay, that in an idea could be useful, but what are the safety guides with the equipment? Are the youth in Groton Estates going to be able to use that unsupervised? Business and community center, what does that look like? What is it? That could mean anything, and I'm not exactly sure what that is.
You have 1 minute.
So what I am saying is that I think that, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I'm saying that I would like to have an opportunity to have transparency on plans and for this sale, and have the community be alerted and have a vote on it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this motion, on this, not motion, speak on this property? Paul?
Paul Duart, 54 Cottage Street, here in the city. The first thing was, I just needed a point of clarification from the attorney. You gave a square footage for per floor for the building. Could you tell me that again?
Yeah, it was a maximum of 5,000 square feet building.
Okay, so it was 24 each floor?
Each floor, yes,
Okay,
sir.
I thought you said 25,000, and I
No,
just
no, no,
went
no.
way off the end there. But I would like to speak in favor of this, that connection along the creek that will connect to Birch Plain Creek, I think has always been, well, put it this way, it was a dream of mine. When I lived in Colonial Manor, right down at the bottom of the hill there, and you needed to get out to Thomas Road because you were headed out in that direction, especially walking, that was 1,000 feet up a hill with a 10% grade, then down around the corner and back. And there was many times I would forge my way straight through the woods until you got to the trails. You know, that was back before Birch Plain Creek was even developed as well as it is. But when that plan was being developed, it was always envisioned that the next pieces would be along that to make that connection. And I'm happy to see that there's an opportunity to enhance that open space at the bottom of the hill there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on 80 Nathan Hale and 0 Paul Revere Road? Let me recognize first-time speakers. Ms. Piazza, go ahead. Councilor Piazza, sorry.
Chris Piazza, 159 Smith Street. The one thing I wanted to say is when I first heard about this, I just want to kind of piggyback off the first speaker on this, is I'm a school bus driver for Groton City, and my question was at first, because they said it's not going to be a public thing, for especially for the fitness center. I can say as a school bus driver, it's a very dangerous area coming down the incline. A lot of people speed in that area, and my concern was as far as safety for the children there. And the thing about it is when the buses dump off, there's a lot of children, and one of the safest places that they would run to is that open space. A lot of them play there, a lot of them go there, a lot of them hang out there, the parents meet them there, and I just kind of thought about like, well, what's going to happen when that big building is there and where are the kids going to go? They're going to kind of be sporadically all around the street. So I think we strategically really need to think about the safety of the children being dumped off, because we not only drop off on, I don't want to say dump, we don't dump them, but drop them off on Paul Revere, drop them off on Nathan Hale, and I forget the crossroad there. So there's a lot of traffic during the school year there, and it just, and also too, my heart does go out to as far as what do kids do, especially teens, and what would this benefit, and you do have a lot of young children there, and what would this benefit the community as far as their children there.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please. If you could, no, if you could come back up. I know, you got to do the trip back and forth, but that way everyone can hear you, and it gets caught on the tape.
So I just want to say from the second speaker that came up here talking about the easement, I like the idea of that. I am a nature person myself. I love trails. I love hiking. However, I just think that we need to think about where are all these children going to go, what they're going to do, and if we're talking about possibly getting rid of a playground in an area where all these children and young adults, our future, are going to be hanging out and making these social interactions and bonds, that it's more of a benefit to have that than to put money into an easement through Birch Plains. I think that is pretty manageable without all of this. It's something I would love to see happen in the future, but not at the cost of the children's safety and their social and emotional well-being. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak about this property?
I would just like to say, I think it's a great idea to take care of the kids.
Well,
That's all I got to say.
well, could you state your name and your address?
My name is Chester Judith. I'm on Broad Street, I-9.
Okay, you got that?
Kids come first.
Yes, they did.
If it puts the kids with a place not to be, it's safe. And we have to drop the other thing.
Okay, then this is why we have you come up to the podium.
I'm sure everybody can hear me, thank you. I feel that if it means that the kids are going to be in a safe place where their parents feel that they can watch them still and not have them, getting into trouble, I think that we should look at that first before we look for big buildings and things like that. We have a lot of empty buildings all throughout Groton that sit there year after year after year, never touched. Why don't we just do something with those people or those things and put the, whatever you were going to put there, put them in these buildings that are not being used?
Okay,
Thank you for
Thank you.
hearing me.
is there anyone else who would?
My name is Joe Mingoya, 64 Godfrey Street. It sounds like a lot of good points were made. I think what we've been not getting is excuse me, is that when this was proposed, that the builders did not give a detailed contract of what they wanted to do and did not address the potential problems. I think that this thing should be put aside until we get back till there is more information that is presented. If they're going to address the problems or the concerns of what was doing, that should be included, because it sounds like, we're giving a piece of property away just so we can make another path for the trail without concerns of what the potentiality of the entire project is involved. So I feel that the city and the lawyers should get back to these people and get a detailed proposal on what they intend to do. And it looks like they never notified the people in Groton States about their concerns. So I think that's something we have to look at in the totality of the whole thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Councilor Carter.
Speaking as a resident and as a counselor, I agree with the gentleman said. And I mumble a lot.
You got to talk into the microphone so we can pick you up.
Yeah. So one thing came to mind when she spoke. I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up in the other side of town, Quantic Bridge, and we had a big spot, like a big piece of land right across the street from my mother's house that we played football at, we did everything at. I wouldn't be who I was today if I didn't have that spot of land. And if somebody came in and said they were building a big building without talking to my mom first, there'd be a problem, you know? So I'm not clear if the developers, and maybe me as a counselor, I was misinformed too. I'm not sure if they reached out and spoke to the residents. I think that if that did happen and the majority of the residents weren't were in conflict with this, then it would be a totally different situation. But I couldn't knowingly vote if there were a majority of the residents there that did not want this. That's just my take.
Okay, thank you. So before we ask for additional speakers, this is something that's been going on for several years now. It's started back in 16?
Yeah, back in 16, that's correct.
Okay, started back in 2016. It did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There is a referral for the disposition of the parcels of land, Groton Estates.
The conditions are on page 2.
Okay, well, let me read the, let's see. If the council and its real estate committee intend to move forward towards disposing of these properties, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend the following conditions be applied, and deed restrictions as appropriate are filed on the land records. The deed restriction filed on the land records state that a proposed recreation/fitness and community center would be provided and equipped by the owners of Groton Estates and maintained for the life of the development as the primary use, both in terms of use and square footage of any new building constructed on these lots. Any other use of the building must be incidental in size and function. Any change to this would require approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Mayor and Council. If no recreational/fitness/community center building is built within 24 months of the sale of the two lots, the property owners would be required to improve the lots and install appropriate recreation equipment /areas/fields such as, but not limited to, standard playground equipment, picnic tables, grills, fitness stations, 1/2 size basketball court. No additional residential units will be built on these lots, and none shall be added to the development unless the current zoning regulations pertaining to open/recreation space are applied to the development. No commercial or income-producing uses will be allowed. The owners must go through all applicable staff, commission, agency, permit processes. And then the city should get an independent appraisal of the parcels, which we did. So this was from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then last year with COVID, there was a delay, and before that, there was a delay from the owner of Groton Estates. So this is something that has been going on for several years. We followed the proper planning and zoning process. They did do an 824 hearing. It did go through planning and zoning. It was approved, and now that's why we're having our public hearing now, so that we can move forward, and then it will go to the mayor and council meeting later tonight. Councilor Carter, please come up to the, you gotta have a mic. You want to speak? Put a mic on it. We're good.
So I understand what you're saying, okay? I think that, and I'm just speaking because we have a resident here that's from that area. The planning and zoning, members of the planning and zoning committee, I don't think are from that community, correct? I'm not sure. With the past year and a half with the COVID and all that other things, I mean, I don't think the residents of there were worried or thinking of that matter of intending or reaching out to the city about possible building in their space. When I first heard it, it was, and you just read it, it's just as appealing now as it was before when I read it. I was excited for it, you know? It sounds like there's gonna be good things there, potentially good things there. But again, I can't speak for somebody that doesn't live in that area. And that's what I'm saying. I know it was approved by the zoning committee, it was approved by everybody, it sounds good. But I think we need to make sure that that's what they want because they live there. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this property? Second, and then I'll go back to you. Councilor Piazza. On the councilors, I caution you on just speaking to this and not getting into arguments and not motions, but going back and forth and having the council meeting here, right? This is for open format, so.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment to say, I just wanted to piggyback off of Councilor Carter in saying that I think it's important, we are representing our community, we are representing our constituents here in the city, and I think we have a very strong citizen here from the city, and I may not have heard much more. I do want to say that I am new to the council, so I wasn't aware of this prior to the 2016. So I did want to say that I think we need to heavily weigh in on what our citizens that are actually living there would like to see, and maybe have more people involved in the discussion, what's actually going to be made. And I might not understand it or be clear in hearing about basketball courts and so forth. That'd be wonderful, but I didn't hear what the response was to that or the end result of it, and if that ever came to fruition at all. Thank you.
So what I do want to say with all the other comments is that I only represent one person in Groton Estates that has recently just stumbled upon one sign at the bottom of a hill that talked about tonight. There are probably other residents in Groton Estates that could be for this or against it. We don't know. I did not live there in 2016, so I can't speak for the motions being approved and the zoning committee and all that. I moved in shortly after. I know that my time spent there and my engagement with my kids in that area is something I look forward to, and I am sure other families look forward to. My question is, if this started in 2016, we had 4 years to notify Groton residents, Groton Estates residents. Have they been notified of this? We're taxpayers and we're residents in that specific community. Why doesn't anyone know about it? Why am I the only one here? There are so many families that live there and that would be affected and impacted by a building going up in that open space. And that means that we're all worried about, during COVID, kids getting out of the house after that and doing stuff and interacting. Where am I, when my kids tell me, hey, I want to go outside and play soccer and throw the football, where am I going to send them? In a parking lot? They're going to hit someone's car, there's going to be a problem. That's why I send them to the open space. It's right there. I can keep tabs on them. I know people around. Hey, my kids are down there. You're right over there. Can you help me watch them? Yes, of course. We're all a community down there, and we all value it. I can't speak for everyone, but those that I know, we value that open space. And it could be used to create something that would work for the Groton community residents and youths that could be approved. And, you know, with the easement too, but I don't think a building going up in that area is going to be, I think it's going to impact the community negatively. I think that children are already withdrawn, they don't have sports, they haven't participated, that it's just going to increase. If they have nowhere to go, they're going to retreat, they're going to stay indoors, and that is not good for their well-being. Kids always come first. Always. As a parent, I can tell you I've always put my children first, and I am asking you guys to please think about it. I don't know how many of you have homes with backyards. I don't. I depend on that space. And so does every other family in Groton Estates that have kids. And I don't know the numbers, but I can guarantee you that the majority do. We don't have a backyard. That is our backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this property? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on 80 Nathan Hale Road and 0 Paul Revere Road. And then the next one is proposed sale of 108 Thames Street and 0 Broad Street. Attorney Leclerc.
Thank you, Mayor. Someone left their notes. I'll put them over on the table.
Okay.
Again, Brian Leclerc. This next hearing is regarding a transaction involving 108 Thames Street and 0 Broad Street. It's commonly known as the Mother Bailey House and the lot on Broad Street adjacent to it. In this proposed transaction, and this is something that is following a public bidding process where requests for proposals were submitted to the public from individuals for redevelopment or restoration of the Mother Bailey House and the property. The proposal is that this property, the parcel with the house and the lot connected to it right behind it, would be transferred to an entity, and that entity would restore the house and potentially develop the remaining lot, as well with 3 duplex units. As to the residence itself, the Mother Bailey House, there's a requirement for the preservation and restoration of the Mother Bailey House, an adaptive reuse of the house for residential purposes only, incorporation of historic elements into the Mother Bailey House, no major visual changes to the house, no interference with the aesthetics of the building or the property, considering it's a historic landmark for the city, restoration of the exterior as close as possible to historical accuracy with appropriate details, fenestrations, and materials. It would require a performance bond be issued for $285,000 to guarantee to the city that the building will be restored to that condition appropriately, and the developer has 15 months to complete that project. So that's basically an overview of the bid that is going to be before the Mayor Council this evening for the conveyance of this property to it from the city.
And just to give you a little bit of history on how we got here, the city, I think it was back in 2013, purchased the property, and then we had some challenges trying to restore the property and getting it restored. We actually had some damage to the property, and we spent several $100,000 to restore the southwest corner. And then we were going to use some bond money that we had to work on that. Went to a Freeman's meeting, and the Freeman voted that down. And so therefore, there were no additional monies that we could use from the city on the Mother Bailey House. So then we were looking at what we could do. We were working with the Anna Warner Bailey chapter of the DAR to try to help them so that if they could come up with money to transfer it to them, but they were unable to come up with the money that was needed to get started, so we did not transfer this. So what we did was we went through the RFP process, and the RFP is request for proposal. So we sent out an RFP. We got two responses back. The responses did not meet the requirements of the RFP, so they were rejected. And then we issued another RFP approximately 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, right? 2 years, a little bit over 2 years ago. We got 3 respondents. We brought in and interviewed all 3 respondents, and then we ranked those respondents, and we interviewed and started working with 1 respondent, and that process took about a year, and we never got through the purchase and sale agreement, never got through the performance bond issues, and those kind of things. And then COVID hit, and that was a challenge. And then we went to the second responded. We still had challenges with performance and with the performance bond, but also with the conduct of what work they were going to do, what they said they were going to do in the proposal, and then what they said they wanted to do once we were negotiating a purchase and sale agreement. So we took that to the end, and then that one failed, and then we brought in a third respondent. We started talking to them and negotiating with them, and that's actually went fairly quickly. And we now have a respondent. We've worked through our issues, and we are ready to, we have a public hearing. One thing that we noticed today in getting prepared for this is that in order to do this, you have to have an 824 hearing, which is basically a planning and zoning hearing, a public hearing, and a planning and zoning hearing that says that it's proper use for the POCD and those kind of things. Then you have to have a vote on the council that it is excess property and that it can be sold. And then the third thing is to have a public hearing. In the case of the Zero Broad, we were unable to find evidence of the public hearing. Not true. Evidence of the 824. So therefore tonight, it's currently on the agenda, but I'm going to talk to the council about moving it to a later date so that we can have planning and zoning take this up on the 15th and then do the 824, and then on the 21st of this month, bring it back to council for approval after this public hearing. So that's a little more history and a little more on why it's taken us as long as it's taken us to get here. So with that, I will open up the floor for discussion. Are there any speakers? Ms. Keeler, Hallie, if you could come up, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hallie Keeler, 45 Ramsdale Street, Groton. I'm a card-carrying member of the Friends of the Mother Bailey House. I was the chair under Mayor Galbraith of a planning committee to come up with different scenarios of how we can save the building. There was a lot of talk about tearing it down, but in our conversations with the State Historic Commission, we were told basically it can't come down because it's an historic property. And watching nothing happen except, you know, the paint peel and the beams, well, beams have been shorn up. And I've been in the house a number of times, so I'm aware of a lot of the problems. I have to say this seems like the best possible choice, and I'm very grateful to this applicant to turn this into, even though we'd love to have it for a museum, you know, we have to take it off the ghost tour now because it'll be a private residence and we can't go inside and talk about, you know, the ghost things that happen in that house. But this is the best possible outcome I think we could hope for, and I'm very grateful.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Deb?
Deborah Patrick, 8 Mellow Avenue. I think it's wonderful that they're finally going to do something with the house. My question is Zero Broad Street, why is that part of one parcel? Why can't that be sold for its market value? Because I looked at the mayor and council agenda, and I believe that the sale is for $1. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So why can't we at least try to get market value for that one parcel? And I understand the house is going to take a tremendous amount of money to restore, but it would be nice if the city could see a little return on Zero Broad Street. And I don't know if that's a possibility, but that's something that I would encourage.
Not at this point, because during the RFP, we put both properties in there together, and so the bid and the plan is for both properties. The focus is on the Mother Bailey, and that's why we have the performance bond. And then because there will be, and the real estate committee wrestled with the price of the property, But for those of you that have toured the property, you will know that the property is in distress, and therefore there will be a significant amount of money that will be required in order to restore the property. So that's one of the reasons that we did that.
And is it a possibility that they're going to build on 0 Broad Street? Or
Yes.
is that a firm?
They have the right to do that.
Okay, because should they build, of course, that now gives us tax revenue.
Right. Well, I'm
That
putting Mother Bailey
would be
back.
above and beyond
Correct.
the cost of the parcel itself.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am. Thank you. Is there any- Yes, please. All right, we'll get you, we will get the microphone to you. Thank you, Brian.
Taking Jill's job, but
Thank you very much. Chester Judith, Broad Street.
Thank you.
My property goes right up to the 0 field. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And I would be interested in buying the part of that 0 land that is abutting my property. And I thought that that's what you people were doing here. That's why I came tonight, because I saw that, you know, you were selling the house separate from the field.
Brian, you'll need to take the microphone.
yeah, the request for proposals went out for the entire parcel, both the Mother Bailey house at 108 and then 0 Broad Street. And that's how they came back for both of those lots. The proposal is for them to potentially develop the 0 Broad Street into the 3 duplexes, as well as restore the Mother Bailey house. And that's 3 duplexes. Correct. They'd have to go through zoning and get any zoning approvals necessary, of course. And no drawings. There's no drawings submitted with the no schematic drawings. I don't believe we have in response to it. But they would have to comply with the building code, obviously, as well as the zoning regulations. This doesn't exempt them from any of that.
What I'm asking for is like a copy of the property, the numbers, as far as, how big it is and where it goes and so forth. Because there's been some property.
Hold on, we got to get a microphone to both of you.
I'm sorry, you're still speaking.
Yeah, I need you to speak to the microphone. I realize you want to speak, but we need to be able to capture this, and we do have an audience that's watching live.
Well, what I need to know about is what is the size of that piece of land that you're talking about, because there has been some question as to somebody owning part of what I already own. And this is what I'm interested in knowing, what this would be if you were to sell it to somebody else. Is it going to take part of my property, or are we on the same?
Do you?
Well, no, the city owns what it owns, and you own what you own. The city can't sell any of your property as part of this transaction. If you own that, the title search shows you own certain real estate. Certainly, this is not an adverse possession. This is not a taking by the city by any means. This is just property it happens to own right now. It's not your property.
Oh, I'm not saying that they think it's my property. I'm just saying that there is a question about where my property begins and where it ends, and where their property begins. And
That
that's
survey
what
would show
I'm
that
looking for. That's why I figured I might as well buy it.
No, there'd have to be a survey done before construction, and plans would have to be filed, and there'd have to be appropriate approvals, sign-offs by the zoning
Oh, I
department,
see.
and before any building permits issue. You don't just start building, you need a building permit, so you have to go and get any zoning approvals and any sign-offs to make sure that you're in compliance with the regulations.
And there's also something else. That's a place where all of the older houses in Groton are in there. Now, why are we thinking about putting something new in there? I don't understand
That's
something
the
like
request
that.
for proposal that was selected and the one as the successful applicant.
This was something that everybody had voted on already? I had never heard of it.
No one voted on it. This was a request for proposal process. The city went through the first two. They both withdrew from the process. This is the third one. It goes before the mayor council tonight after this meeting. And actually, it's not going to be voted on tonight, as the mayor indicated. It's going to get put over for 824 review on the 15th, and then on the 21st back to the mayor council for further discussion and action on this item.
All right, so if we question this, can we send something in writing, or?
Here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. I'll give you my phone number for tomorrow. Call our office tomorrow. It's 860-446-4103. And then we will either take your questions or get you in touch with the right individual, right staff,
Okay.
department head that can answer your questions.
Right, okay, but there is definitely no chance of that going separate from the house?
At this point, no.
Yeah, I don't believe so, because in connection with the bid process, they're putting a lot of money into the house. It really needs a lot of work. And financially, they have to come up with a way to pay for that and make it affordable, make it happen. And that's why they were both included, and that's why their proposal, I assume, includes developing 0 Broad Street, putting them on the tax rolls, and try to recover some money towards what they're putting in. They're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into Mother Bailey to get it in habitable condition.
Actually, it's not even the Mother Bailey house, to be honest with you. There was a doctor that saved many lives up there at the fort during the
Right.
thing that went on up there. And I mean, it should be in his name, not her name.
Well, okay.
I hate to say that, but it's true. She lived, yeah, you know where she lived at the first?
Hold on.
The house is the Prentice, Dr. Prentice, Amos Prentice house. But Anna Warner Bailey lived there with her husband.
I realize
He
that.
served as the post office at some point, but she lived there for many years and was a very creative and historic character. So the house is anecdotally referred to as the Mother Bailey house. But
Right.
it is the Dr. Amos Prentice house.
Where she lived in the very beginning, I have the what's left of the foundation to their house when she first married.
Okay.
Because that was 2 brothers. They were the Bailey brothers.
Okay.
One-
All right. I'd like to stop this and focus on
Thank you.
the proposed sale of 108 Thames and 0 Broad. Okay. I appreciate the history lesson as much as anyone else, but we do have another meeting after this, and I want to see if there's anyone else who would like to speak on the proposed sale of 108 Thames Street and 0 Broad. Jim? Yeah, I saw it. I'll get you next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Streeter, 64 Pleasant Street. And I'll read off some notes. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'd like to express my support for the City of Groton selling Mother Bailey House and the connecting land, 108 Broad Street and 108 Thames and 0 Broad Street. As the historian for the town of Groton, I can say without reservation that the heroic acts of Anna Warner Bailey, commonly known as Mother Bailey, and her husband Elijah Bailey are of major historical significance to our community, the state, and the country. The saving of the house, where so much history transpired, is more than worthy of preserving for the future. This building provides a sense of community pride for the city and also provides a sense of place for our residents. I would also like to relay something about the city's ownership of the building. At one time, the city was placing money into it, and I was in a dilemma. On one hand, as the historian, I certainly appreciated the city's attempt to stabilize and restore the structure. However, on the other hand, as a taxpayer, I did not feel that the cost of restoring the building should have been the responsibility of the taxpayers. Thus, I encouraged the city to sell the property to the prospective buyer, and with a great deal of hope, look forward to the possible restoration, or at minimum, in keeping the overall historical characteristic and appearance of the facade of the building. I'd also like to mention that, out of full disclosure, that I am a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And should this matter come before the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will recluse myself because of my interest in that particular building. Thank you.
Brian Neiman, 76 Allen Street. I was at the Freeman's meeting back when the city, Freeman voted to acquire the Mother Bailey House. And looking back over the years, as a person who worked for the Public Works Department, I have spent my time here. I am intimately acquainted with the grounds there, having mowed and trimmed repeatedly over the years. I would like to say that at the acquisition of the building, I voted in favor, but I also think, in retrospect, we, the residents, were sold a bill of goods as far as the condition of the building. Had I known at that time what it looked like inside and what would be involved, I'm not sure I would have gone along with that vote. That being said, and being water under the bridge, I think this is the best option possible to maintain a historic link in the city and hopefully in the future. One question I would have as far as this proposal is, do the requirements for the historic nature of the building apply simply to the current developer that would purchase it, or is this something that will be attached, say, in perpetuity to the house, regardless of what their disposal of the building might be in the future? You know, that it couldn't be sold 10 years down the road and something completely done differently to it.
No, the proposal was the restrictions stay in effect for a 5-year period minimal, but there's a right of first refusal for 30 years for the city to acquire the property. If the developer is the successful purchaser of the property, and sometime within the next 30 years goes to sell the property, and it's a bona fide purchaser, the city has the right to purchase the property for the same dollar value, should it want to take it back again.
Under these circumstances, it appears to me to be the best of all possible options. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the proposed sale of 108 Thames and 0 Broad? Mr. Riley?
My name is Ann Rousseau. I legally own property at 324 Thames Street. I'm also known as Ann O'Reilly, who's my maiden name, because you may see that on the Groton Forum or whatever. I purchased my property in 2015. It's a small condominium development of 12 units, all owner occupied. We have, in the last few years, spent an incredible amount of money upgrading the buildings, putting in new driveways, sidewalks, siding, roofs, gutters, et cetera, et cetera. Our board believes in investing in the property, keeping it in good shape. The last thing that we will be doing is replacing all the rear decks. We abut city property. I'm very happy with what the city is doing with that property, and you know, as a whole, I don't have much complaints.
I've recently been asked to join a group with regard to what's going on Thames Street and how buildings are becoming run down and how we can positively urge people that are either residents or coming in and buying to improve their property rather than attack them or, put a blight notice out or whatever. For me to see this going on with this property, I think is a huge plus for the street. I understand that they need to sell the adjoining property because this buyer is going to put a tremendous amount of investment into that house and is going to need to recoup funds by further development. That can be addressed with zoning. I've been in law for 40 years. I've done it all. I've got a background in zoning. I urge that this be approved after they go ahead and get the other 824 meeting taken care of. I will support it. I'll show up at the meetings. I am on the Groton Forum under Ann O'Reilly if anybody has a comment for me about the future of Thames Street. But hopefully we can turn some things around down there, get some people in. I look right out my deck and see the old police station, which was the restaurant, and to watch that deteriorating day after day. My brother was a Groton City cop with Larry Garish and was in that building. So I go way back. I grew up here. I'm committed to this area. So like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments regarding these properties? Okay, hearing none, I am going to close the public hearing, and I am going to adjourn the public hearing for both. So we are now adjourned. Okay, thank you for coming out. Council, please proceed to council chambers, and we will start the mayor and council meeting. All right. Ready? Okay. Good evening. This is welcome to the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, June 7th, 2021. Clerk Peters, please call the roll.
Present, we have Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Guinevere Depot, Councilor Rashad Carter, Councilor Lisa McCabe, Councilor Paul Norris, Councilor Christine Piazza, Councilor Stephen Sheffield, City Clerk Megan Peters, Finance Director Ron Uhas, and Attorney Brian Leclerc.
Okay. I'll stand and please salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, recognitions, awards, and memorials. On June 1st, we had a Pride ceremony where we raised the Pride flag, and I had a proclamation for Pride Month, and I will read that now. From the Office of the Mayor, City of Groton, Connecticut, proclamation, Pride Month. Whereas the City of Groton cherishes and the value and dignity of each person and recognizes the importance of equality and freedom, and whereas the City of Groton is a friendly and welcoming community that celebrates and promotes diversity and inclusion for all to live, work, and play. And whereas the City of Groton believes that every family in any shape deserves a safe, happy, and supported place to call home. And whereas the City of Groton recognizes that our nation was founded upon the principles that all people are created equal and that each person has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the City of Groton is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our community. And whereas the City of Groton recognizes and appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning LGBTQ community, which strengthen our city. And whereas the City of Groton is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all its residents and denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles. And whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by the peers and community leaders. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Keith Hedrick, Mayor of the City of Groton, proclaim and recognize the month of June as Pride Month in the City of Groton and urge all residents to actively promote the principles of equality and liberty. Given under my hand this first day of June 2021, signed Keith Hedrick, Mayor, City of Groton. Are there any other recognition, awards, and memorials? Okay. Receipt of citizen petitions. Receipt of citizen petitions is a portion of the council meeting where the council recognizes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign the sheets on the table at the front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the City of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the response to citizens' petitions portion of the meeting. Clerk Peters, is there anyone signed up? No. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak publicly? Okay, we're going to need to get a microphone to him. Please state your name and your address.
Yeah. Bob Chalafor, 39 First Street. I sent a letter that's concerning my vehicle not being able to get a pass for the beach. Did you receive the letter that I sent?
I received the letter and I forwarded it to the council, and we will be discussing that letter under communications and reports. But please, this is your time to speak.
Okay. So the letter is pretty much self-explanatory. I bought the motor home basically for my wife so that she could go here and there and visit with friends and relatives, and also to maybe go down to the beach and get something to eat 4 or 5 times during the season. We are not beach people. We don't use the beach sand pot, but we do like to go down and get some food at the concession and sit at a picnic table. And this way here, she has a bathroom and she has transportation, and it makes it very easy. It's not easy getting her out of the house, but you know, for a short trip for 4 or 5 times a year, I'd like to be able to do that, and she would too. That's all I have to say, basically.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions to Mr. Chalafour? Clarifying questions from the council. Okay, we'll move to, is there anyone else? Councilor McCabe.
So in your letter, you said that the vehicle fits in a normal parking space, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It's not big. It's 21 feet long. A lot of pickup trucks are close to that, but it's not a huge motor home.
And it would probably even park in the handicap space? Is it?
Yes, it would.
Handicap?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've gone down there and done that, and it did very, very well.
You're welcome.
Any other clarifying questions to Mr. Chalafour? Okay, we will proceed to Councilor Piazza.
Mr. Chalafour, when you described your vehicle, I just wanted to know, is it a wheelchair ramp that actually comes out of the vehicle, or is it some type of lift? And if so, do you have access well enough to be able to place it down and for her to get in and out of the vehicle as needed?
Yes, it's a portable lift, and it takes up about the same amount of room as that chair that's sitting there.
Okay.
And it works very well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, clarifying questions? Okay, now we will move to response to citizens' petitions. I'll open up to the council. Council, Deputy Mayor Depot.
I think, we received a copy of the letter and a copy of the rules in our packet. I'm not sure what happened in between the request for the pass and the sending in the letter. But according to our rules, there is a rule, number 29, I believe, somewhere in here, that says that the Parks and Rec Director can make exceptions for the rules. So even though the vehicle is called a camper, in my opinion, this is something that should be made an exception for, because the nature of that rule is for people not to stay overnight and park on the beach. And I don't see any reason why this vehicle, like Councilor McCabe got the confirmation, it fits in a regular parking spot. I would be in favor of making an exception for it. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, honestly.
And the reason I wanted to bring this to the council is because the council is the one that voted to approve the rules, and the rules as stated, depending on how you read them, strictly read them, then this vehicle is not allowed, but the council can make an exception. So any other response to citizens' petitions? Councilor Piazza.
I was just looking up the definition for, Mr. Chalafor had said when he stood, originally he was talking about that it was a camper, but then you had stated it was a motorhome. And when you look up motorhome, it actually said that it has a trailer attached to it with a kitchen and all the facilities as if you were going to stay overnight. And that does not seem to be applied to his vehicle. So when we're looking at under vehicles, mobile home, it doesn't seem to his vehicle fits in that name per se.
You're going to need to come up and grab a microphone.
So just for clarification, his registration stated camper, and that's why, and we've had this in the past where campers have been denied because it's a prohibited vehicle. So when we were talking, it was referred to here because you guys do ultimately approve the rules and regulations. It's my job to enforce them. And the 25 or 28 rules and regulations those are the 25 that I can kind of alleviate from. The other things are based on how you purchase a beach pass and the money that is generated by that. So his registration was a camper, so that's why we directed it to come here.
Councilor Carter?
Can I ask the Director Bill a question? So what you're saying is that when it's all said and done, there's certain policies that you can make your decision on, and there's certain policies that are kind of set in stone, and you have to come to us to get an approval. Was that
It's
what
always
you're
been
saying?
my understanding with the rules and regulations, the 25 or 26 rules that are laid out on page, I think it's 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, are where we as staff and the department oversee some of those. I mean, we come to you with recommendations for the fees and pricing, and it's recommendations. So recommendations, certain areas we do. I mean, you guys, I came back here with recommendations for fees, and you guys overturned that. A lot of the detailed rules and regulations with flotation devices and jumping off the rocks, that's management stuff that we do there, during the season. This is something that I think, because once you let one in, you're going to have to let more.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think this specific situation, and I don't know what the camper is. I just don't know. What you're stating, or I'm asking what you're stating, is that we would have to switch it to allow campers.
Well, right now, I don't have the rules in front of me.
Because if we did that, I can see that being a problem. But if we made a judgment call, is that something that even the mayor could just make and say, okay, for this isolated situation?
But it's a resolution from the mayor and council that these rules were approved in April. A camper is a camper. Yes, we could have other issues.
It's registered as a camper,
It's
though.
registered as a camper. So we could have other issues with overnight. I mean, granted, majority of the time the gate is closed at 11:30 in the evening, but the camper part threw me, and I'm not going to lie. It just like I'd like some direction from the mayor and council in regards to how to handle a prohibited vehicle.
So what would you do?
We've denied campers in the past, previous administration.
Yeah, but what about campers like this?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I just went by the registration. It said camper.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think, in here, it mentions the Disability Act and other things, I think we'd be kind of like.
I understand. Reasonable accommodations should be made. I get that. But I just want the backing of the mayor and council if we do this, because I'm the one who has to deal with the other people coming in the gate with a camper once we let one in.
But again, I think we're making it either as easy as we can or as hard as we can. And I think this is, if we change it to allow campers, that's going to make it very difficult. So I think it would be in the best interest of the council and the citizen here that we could make an exception. Is there something we can do to make an exception besides changing the rules?
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll get to you guys, but let me tell you where I'm at on this.
Can I go sit down? Get a chair.
I don't think we have to put a blanket umbrella policy in here and say, if we're going to call this a camper, we're going to let all the campers in. I think that it needs, and in this particular case, I think it needs, it is every one gets evaluated. So if somebody else comes in and said, hey, I got a camper that's this, then it gets evaluated. And is it a camper, meaning for overnight, or, which is not allowed, or is it a handicap accessible vehicle, which this appears to be, for the purpose of transportation of an individual to and from. It has its own toilet facilities there in it, and therefore there's no issues with access for ADA accessibility and all that, although we do have the handicap ramp, but those facilities are already there. So I think the council, the reason that I wasn't asked to weigh in on this is because the council approved this, so that's why it's the council. But I think the council as a body, through a consensus, can say that for this case, we should allow an exception, and then that takes the pressure off of the Parks and Rec director. And then if anybody else comes up and says, okay, I saw on TV that you allowed a camper in, then that gets evaluated one at a time. It's not like we're opening a farmer's market down there and we're bringing anybody and everybody we're opening up Strawberry Bank. We're not doing that. So I think that the council can make that decision. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to comment. So I know what Director Hill is saying. The rule that says, Rule 29 says Parks and Recreation Director reserves the right to alter or override any rule or regulation according to his or her discretion due to special circumstances. It is under the Rules and Regulations section after the designation of the vehicles and all that stuff. I am of the opinion that, to me, when I saw this, you know, Mr. Chalifour has been a resident for a very long time. He's not a 25-year-old looking to party on the beach. And to me, this is a extremely reasonable accommodation. And I think that for me as a counselor, I would trust the department head to make the right decision. I don't, on this, you know, in particular one, I do think if something more questionable were to come up, it is reasonable to come to the council. I think that this is an instance where it could have just been approved due to kind of understanding the circumstances and the resident, you know, evaluating who the resident is. Like I said, if it was a new resident or something like that, that might be a little questionable or different. But I'm in favor of, in the future, the discretion of the director of Parks and Rec, because I don't know that we need or should have residents forced to come to the council to kind of lobby their case when it kind of seems like common sense.
I'm going to address that. All I had was a registration that said camper.
I understand.
Okay, I didn't have a picture of what it looked like. I had a registration that is not a valid or a prohibited vehicle for the use of the beach. I don't know all my residents in the community to say somebody was here for 25 years or 25 minutes. I don't know. I went by what I have to do to issue a beach pass legally by the rules and regulations based on a registration, and it said camper.
Understand. And you are now here. It is brought in front of council. Council is weighing their decisions now, and if the council decides that we are going to exempt this so that he can get a pass, a sticker, then that's it. The council has spoken. Your decision on what you did is not being questioned. Okay? Nobody's saying you made a bad decision. The decision was made. Mr. Chalifour sent a letter to me that got sent to the council, and so now the council is adjudicating based on the letter, based on citizens' petitions, and based on what we know in our rules, and the rules. So this is a normal process. This is good discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot, you had a comment.
I just wanted to say, you said you were looking for further direction, so I was just saying this is an example in the future that I think this would be a reasonable exception for the director to decide, to get the details and decide, instead of having, you know, the resident have to wait. This is luckily at the beginning of beach season, so it's not, you know, a big deal, but if someone were to ask in the middle of beach season or towards the end, I would feel bad if a resident had to wait a month to get that approved if it was a similar situation. So I was offering the future guidance that was requested.
Councilor North.
Thank you. I think the guidance here is Director Hill did make a decision based on the information that she had. She's now bringing that to us to clarify a direction. My direction would be that it's based on the vehicle, not the age, not the gender, not how long they've been a resident. And if we're saying that this type of vehicle will be allowed to be at the beach and get a beach pass, then that's a direction that the director now has and can continue to move forward, seeing the vehicle or telling our staff, if you see a vehicle like this, we can move forward. So I think this was a good move on all parties' part. I don't see a problem with it not being able to be there. I do have one question, because I have no idea how long 21 feet is. So an average length of a parking spot is
18 feet?
18 feet.
Isn't that correct? Am I close? 18 feet for a parking? 18 feet?
Okay, so if we say yes to this, we're now saying this vehicle pretty much is longer than a parking spot.
Would you say 21?
I got a Jeep Grand Cherokee that's 18 feet to the mark. Never had a problem with parking space.
All right, from here to there is 21 feet. I'm at 21 feet. Please, Councilor Norris.
That seems longer than normal parking spot. So I'm all for this. I'm just saying that once we get into this and we allow vehicles that can be a separate area somewhere, I don't know.
Well, and that's why I said it's not like we're opening the gate to anybody and everybody that has an abnormally sized vehicle to come in. That's why my recommendation was on a case basis, it gets evaluated and we decide is it good or is it not good. Some people won't like that decision and some people will. But, if we're in a handicap space, handicap spaces are oversized. And we do have some in different places that would not obstruct other traffic. So, Councilor Piazza, I think you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, Director Hill, that I hope I didn't come off in any way that you felt like I, had an objection to how you decided at all. I was just clarifying as far as what had already been decided in rules where I wasn't here, and just hearing Mr. Challa for how he described it. But when you're looking at all the information he's proposing and so forth and so on, also too, we just read a proclamation from Pride, and what was the part of it is everybody's treated equally and has the right to, everything that they live in, per se. So I think that should apply also. So I think maybe in the future, we should rethink about the verbiage in our rules and regulations. And that's it.
Councilor Norris.
I am not disagreeing. All I'm saying is we are now telling the director, your guidance is a vehicle that's 21 feet can get a pass at the beach.
I don't think we're saying that. I think we're saying for this vehicle can get a pass at the beach.
So my opinion is we're hamstringing the director because she's going to be constantly coming back here looking for direction if we're not giving her that.
How many times has this come up?
This, in the 15 years I've been here, this is the second one. The first one was denied, because it was actually like a big old type of camper, and it was actually was. They approached us at the beach, so we saw it in the 2 parking spaces. It went through, it took up 2, so we actually were able to visually see it before they were able to actually purchase a pass.
Right.
And I'm all for reasonable accommodations. Don't get me wrong. I just, this is something that, it's in the rules. I made a decision, and it went further, so that's why we're here. He's got his hand.
And Councilor Norris, I recognize your concern on a go-forward basis and precedent setting and no good deed goes unpunished and all those kinds of things. that sometimes happen. But what I would look for the council is for this vehicle. Councilor Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to make this exception for this one vehicle, but how far will it go after that? If someone else sees that camper parking, well, maybe can I park my camper there as well, since he's able to park his camper there? Other people are going to see that, so when does the limitation, cease to where someone else is going to make a request? Do we give them an exception? So it could trickle out from there. That's a concern, but again, we'll see.
It could, and we may get to address it again. Councilor McCabe.
I think even though that this vehicle is registered or purchased as a camper, it is a vehicle that has been outfitted for a handicapped individual resident of our city. I think that in that case, I think that if people are at the beach and they see this camper sitting there and it's in a handicap spot and a handicapped person is being lifted out of it, and it is obviously a handicap accessible vehicle, I don't think there's going to be a run on the beach pass office to get more camper passes. But that's just my opinion.
No. Well,
he didn't speak first.
but we're past citizens' petitions. We're the response to citizens' petition. Will it add value to this conversation that will help the counselors make a decision?
Yes.
Okay, then I will allow it. You're going to need to be on a mic.
Relating to parking space size, I did a quick check on a mobility-related website on ProPark and found that the average parking space ranged from 10 to 20 feet, so there's a lot of discrepancy. I wanted to know a little bit more, and so I looked up some large truck sizes, and a Ford F-350 is 21.2 feet long.
Okay.
And is not prohibited from parking in those spaces and fits comfortably.
Okay.
Sir, can I have your name?
Ryan Chalafour, also of 39 First Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chalafour.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other counselors like to speak? So what is the will of the council? Are you guys?
What are we voting for?
Well, we're not voting. I'm going to get a consensus. My recommendation is that you can. So what I'm going to. Well, let me be specific. My ask of you is to authorize Mr. Chalafour to get a beach pass for his vehicle under whatever category he's in. And this is this is not a precedent setting where anything that looks like, acts like this vehicle automatically gets done, because I don't want to put Mary in an awkward situation. And the council can make these decisions if need be. So that's what I'm looking for, a consensus to allow Mr. Chalafour to get a parking pass to allow this vehicle only of this type on the beach. So, council, what do you, just?
I'm in favor.
I'll take it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
You're good? You're good?
Yes.
Good, okay. Mary, you can issue a pass. Mr. Chalafour, we will, you can work with Mary. We'll get you a pass so that you can get access to the beach.
And we look forward to seeing you. Yeah, see you there.
Thank you for coming out.
Very much. Very much.
Thank you for coming out.
When we do, we'll come say hi.
Hey, Bob, you still swinging your club? No.
I wish I was, but I'm not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move to approval of the minutes. I need a motion.
So moved.
Wait a minute, I'm
You're right.
do you see my confusion in the beginning? There's a May 17th, then there's a comma, and
Missing
then,
in 2021.
well, I know, but there's what's the May 17th go to? Because normally it's mayor and council meeting,
So
May
it's the May
24th.
17th mayor and council.
Okay, that's what it is? Okay, fine. I need a motion to approve the May 17, 2021 mayor and council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Need a motion for the May 24, 2021 special mayor and council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Need a motion for the May 24th, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Communications and reports. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In May, I attended the pedestrian and bikeways first walking survey as we're starting to map out some safe walks in our city. There's going to be another get-together coming up this month. I don't know the exact date, so check out the City of Groton website for that under economic development. Hope to see everyone come out and take a walk with us.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Norris.
Just that I attended the DARE graduation a few weeks ago at the Sacred Heart School, and it was really nice to see these youngsters so enthusiastic about the DARE program and reciting what they've learned and their emotions behind it. It was a good event.
Yeah, I agree. Councilor Sheffield.
First attended Chief Spellman's retirement tribute at the Yukon Avery Point. And then last week attended the Tippecop at Par 4. Mayor was in attendance, and thank all the cops involved, including Chief. Excellent job. Captain Leitao, Officer Contreras. Who else we got? A couple of Officer Nichols. Yep. And and Grin. Couldn't forget him. So, again, thanks for the officers. It was a good time, and again, a great cause for the Special Olympics, which dear to my heart because my brother was a Special Olympian many years ago, and so it was a very nice thing to have. And lastly, attended the CCM National League of Cities seminar, webinar regarding the American Rescue Plan, going over how states are now receiving that money, and Connecticut has already received money for the American Rescue Plan and is able to allocate funds for the various towns and cities throughout the state of Connecticut, and discussions of, the uses, the do's and don'ts that can be used with that money. So it's pretty important to be informed, and sure, Ron, you'll be pretty much on top of things for when we need cash, I guess. So, and I think that's it.
Okay. Councilor Piazza.
Council Piazza has none.
Okay. Councilor Carter.
Report.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot.
On May 19th, I also attended the Sacred Heart DARE graduation, and I just wanted to echo the comments of Councilor Norris, and to add, it's interesting because when I was a kid and we took DARE, it was all about drugs and stuff, and now they include bullying and some other things in there, and I think it's really beneficial. It's a good, those lessons are good to learn in different areas, and I think it's really helpful that they get to know the police officers as well in the community. I think, our community policing is really important, and they are very comfortable with the officers there, and I think that's such a good sign for when they get older, they won't be, nervous to approach an officer, or if they have a problem, or they know that these leaders in their community, police officers, the council, the mayor, they want them to do well and succeed in life, and I think it's a really cool program, and I wish that more area schools did it. But also on May 25th, I volunteered at the food box distribution at St. John's Christian Church, where they also did a vaccine clinic at the same time, which was kind of cool. We had people come get vaccinated and then get a box of food. And they also had to wait while they were vaccinated, so some of them we chit-chatted with a little bit, which was fun. I'm not sure, do we have another one scheduled?
We do, but I don't remember when it is. Let me see if I can find quickly.
Do you know the date? So they're going to be the fourth Tuesday of every month. Okay.
So it'll be the fourth Tuesday of every month, and during those, we will continue to do vaccine clinics in an attempt to bring the vaccine to vulnerable populations. Councilor, who am I?
I had a question about that event.
Okay.
Which vaccine are they distributing? Is it Johnson & Johnson?
They did the Johnson & Johnson and the Moderna.
So you could choose, or? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to finish with, I just wanted to add that if anyone out there can't go pick up a box, please contact the mayor's office, because we will deliver them to you if you need. I will personally deliver the boxes to people. I usually grab half a dozen and drive around and deliver them. So if you need a box delivered, please contact the mayor's office and we will make that happen. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If food insecurity is still an issue in the city, and so these boxes have fruits and vegetables, they have milk, they have other dairy products, they have cooked proteins that are in them. It's a 30-pound box, and we have a couple trucks out there. Last time we loaded my truck up with 20 boxes, and we drove around looking for people that needed food. So we will deliver boxes to make sure that people that need it get it.
One thing.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I also forgot to add, if you would like to volunteer to help us distribute the boxes, also please contact the mayor's office.
That's
because
true.
we can always use more volunteers.
Absolutely. And the vaccine clinics, we are continuing to do that. We're working with Ledge Light. We're teaming up to get the vaccines to the vulnerable populations. That's extremely important. And we are seeing positive results out of that. So as far as American Rescue Funds, I received a letter, and I think I forwarded it to council, that the city of Groton is going to get roughly $2.8 million of American Rescue Plan funds. Director Uhas and I attended a meeting this morning. I'm not sure they answered all the questions because they're kind of combining a couple different programs. But as soon as we understand what the rules are and what the money can be used for and the limitations, then we're going to start accepting the funds, and then we'll be coming to council for the use of and disbursement of those funds. So, Councilor Sheffield.
Either a question for you or for Ron. There was a question at that seminar regarding the WPCA, whether any revenue lost, or is it combined with the utilities? I think we are now, is with the utilities, but I guess other municipalities are not connected to their utilities, and I guess they were able to possibly recoup through the American Rescue Plan any loss regarding the WPCA. So I'm not sure if that applies to us or not, or, you know.
Yeah, we're going to look into it. We'll look at all of the different options. This is kind of came through just recently that we were entitled to a couple of the first grants that came through were only for the 169 municipalities, so we weren't included in them. So we kind of, when this first came up, thought maybe that's where they were going to go with the direction, but then they did a subsequent one to the boroughs. So we are looking into it to get an understanding of what are the eligible projects that we can. I know the mayor said that money, there's two different waves of it. 50% is coming this year, 50% next year, and there's some stuff that we need to do to get back to the state this week. So we are looking into it.
In addition to that, there is additional federal infrastructure money for roads, electric, water, and sewer. And so we're evaluating that as well. And I've sent it out to the department heads to get back to me on projects, and we're ensuring that we're going to meet the requirements because we're going to be the fiduciary, and we're going to need to provide documentation back to the feds, in some cases back to the state, in some cases about where we're using the money. But if there's money that's out there that is available to us, then we're going to go after the money that we can get for the different projects. So that's all I have. Committee referrals, let's talk about committee assignments. So group one is economic development, public works, and public safety. So economic development will be chaired by Councilor Norris. Public works will be chaired by Councilor McCabe. Public safety will be chaired by Deputy Mayor Depot. Group two is community development, finance, Parks and Rec. Community development will be chaired by Councilor Piazza. Finance will be chaired by Councilor Sheffield. Parks and Rec will be chaired by Councilor Carter. We have a retirement committee. The charter requires a councilor representative on that. Councilor Norris is going to be the representative of that. I do have another meeting, which is a local meeting. It's a town council RTM Board of Ed Liaison Committee. It meets on the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30, and I need a volunteer to attend that. And the logic behind that is to get the main entities together so that people know what other entities are doing and financing and those kind of projects and those kinds of things. So if you could get back to the mayor's office and let me know if you're interested in that, I'd appreciate it.
Mayor, I guess before we start new business, could I make a motion to amend, or to suspend the rules and amend to bring up R-21-6-106 to begin, and let's get the rules portion out of the way for the resolution regarding which is our very last resolution, I think that's the first one.
Well, actually, what I'd like to do is get Brian done and get him out of here because I'm paying him.
Yes, this is
no
very
offense,
true.
But I appreciate the volunteers that you are, but I would like to get Brian in and out of here. And then I will entertain that.
Sure.
So, okay. With that, the new business, Councilor McCabe, R-21-6-90.
Certainly. Resolution R-21-6-90. Therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the council that the conveyance of the parcel to Groton Estates LLC and the receipt of a conveyance of an easement from Groton Estates LLC be and are hereby approved, and that the mayor or his designee be authorized to execute and enter into a purchase and sale agreement in such form as approved by the city attorney. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We did discuss this during the committee of the whole. We just had a public hearing on this. I'll open it up. I'll open up the floor for discussion. You, Councilor Carter?
I just have a question for sorry. Like I've been on the council for a while, it's my fault I didn't ask these questions to begin with, but what was brought to my attention earlier just kind of got me thinking a little, Do we know the history and why we actually own that to begin with? Is it because of, like the land to make sure that they didn't build anything there to begin with, like way back when, because that would, do we know? Because what's happening now might be one of the reasons why we acquired it many years ago to begin with.
I don't know.
Okay.
Brian, I don't know why this property is in the hands of the city.
I mean, it's a very small amount, and that would really kind of only be the reason
This was
why.
built back in 1966, this development, historically.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, back in '66, that might be the reason why.
Well,
I mean, why?
Utilities owned part of it at one point, right? Ron, do you want to fill in what you know?
I believe in, and I don't remember the specifics, but I believe the property was donated to the city when that was being developed. I don't know what the reason for it was, looking back, but I don't want to say that I'm 100% accurate on that, but I have a feeling when we were researching, trying to get the ownership, it was gifted at some point to the city.
But there was also, if I remember correctly, like a pump station or something on it, because we had to talk to Ray Valentini about it. So do you remember, I remember that coming up in the real estate committee.
That is correct as well.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't remember the whole history.
So if you go down there, so, well, then grab a microphone.
So that property used to have more than a swing set on it. It used to be open space for the community of it was Colonial Manor, and then it became Groton Estates. And the city used to we used to maintain that parcel of land because it had swing sets. I go back to like seesaws and jungle gyms and those domey, like things that had to be removed as they became liabilities. So that's why the swing set's the only thing left. And when I started here 15 years ago, we still maintained that property. Eventually, management at Groton Estates kind of changed, and they kind of wanted to use it for their residents, and so they started maintaining it, and eventually things kind of went where they are going today, where they want to work on enhancing it, I'll say, based on some of the things they want to put there. But it was a city, I'm not sure, we maintained the equipment, so I'm assuming at some point we put it in. It was city property and city equipment.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm thinking
got involved,
initially, like why didn't Groton Estates buy that whole thing? Like, I'm just asking, was there a situation back in '66 where somebody on the council said, listen, we need to make sure there's a place for the residents to play, so we're not selling this, or we're not...
When we brought this to the real estate committee and we were doing research on this parcel of land, we didn't find anything of that nature. Now, I didn't go back to resolutions back to 1960 to see if there was anything there. I will tell you there was... When I first looked at this back in '17, I think there was still one swing set there, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that ended up, and it was in disarray. It was rusting, so we cut it down. And then I went over and inspected it, and there was parts of it jutting up. And I said, that's a hazard because somebody's going to fall on it and get impaled.
Yeah.
So we dug them and cleaned that up, but there's a square, I don't know, I think do you guys have that in your packet? Did you get a picture of it?
I don't know.
In the packet?
I've been out down there.
So if you go down there, it's relatively speaking, it's a larger piece of property. It's where the current playscapes are and swing sets are, that's a much smaller parcel that they have there. So it is an open area, and the agreement that the real estate committee and the planning and zoning got into was that they could not build any more units there. We didn't want them to build units. It had to have something with recreation, because if you were taking away part of that, you had to have the recreation there. I understand her concern about shooing the kids out of the house. You need to go play somewhere. I got that. I will tell you, many of the Groton Estates guys, many of the Groton Estates children and Branford Manor children went down and played at Westside. And now Westside is going to be the Thames River Magnet here pretty soon. So there are some playground areas there that they're going to be able to play at. Not discounting her comments. I mean, I understand.
Yeah, certainly. Just add that. Certainly, and I get that. But and that's why it's so appealing even to me. I'm like, that seems like it'd be a great idea, But you said in their agreement, do we know for certain that those amenities that's going to happen, and then is that written up in the contract, or do we know is it something like once it passes, then they're going to put up just their office buildings or whatever?
That's where the purchase and sale agreement comes in. I'll let Brian speak to it specifically, but the purchase and sale agreement is to specifically identify what they're going to do, and if they default from that, then we can take it back.
Okay. And I think those are the things that I think the lady, I'm not sure, I'm not speaking for her, but
No.
I don't think she's clear on that, you know?
The agreement has no residential buildings, community center, clubhouse for residents with a business and a fitness center. We also have a provision in here that 2,500 square feet is in size approximately 5,000 square feet on 2 levels, basically. And that if the construction of this does not begin within 24 months of closing, the purchaser has to improve the property, meaning if they don't build this building they're proposing, they have to put in recreation equipment and improvements, including a sports court, fitness stations, picnic tables, and grills.
Okay.
And
Like if they don't build a structure, then they have to, so it's, okay.
And there'll be a deed,
So that would make it
declaration
a
of
par.
restrictions, and they can never build residential there, so they can't buy it and then build an apartment building.
Now, one of the challenges that we face as a council and as commissions is that how do you get the information out to everybody? Because they do have public hearings on the planning and zoning commissions and those kind of things, but not everybody knows that. Not everybody is tuned into Facebook or to the website or know where to go, right? So I'm sure, she's out doing a walk and she sees this big thing. I'm sure she was floored by this, and there may be other people that didn't know. But it's one of the challenges. How do you get the information out there? How do you make sure people understand? And in some cases, you will never get 100% consensus to do something. Somebody will say, no, I think we ought to do it for this, and then somebody else will say, no, I think we ought to do it for something else, and those kind of things. And that is a challenge, and that's a challenge that you as the council have today with this. So let me go to Deputy Mayor Depot, and then we'll go back.
So I actually wanted to address that. So part of the feedback that we got was that people didn't know about it. And part of since I've been on the council at least, one of the puzzles that I've been trying to solve is how to get the information to people, because people aren't necessarily looking at the traditional methods. So we have to put a notice in the paper. We post on Facebook. We share on Facebook. We share on our website. I know as a homeowner, oftentimes you end up having to deal with the city or city meetings or planning and zoning. So if you own a home, it's not completely foreign to necessarily that there are zoning meetings or whatever. But if you don't own a home, you might have no reason to interact with the city. So my thought is, could we team up with Groton Estates and Branford Manor maybe, to where when we put notices out, they post them somewhere visible for their residents to see that they frequent, like an office, or if they have a newsletter or something, because it is better for more people to have the information. It's really difficult and it costs money to do it. But as the owner of that property, I do feel like if we can team up with them to get that information to their renters, that would be ideal. And I think that there's no real way we could do it on our own. I don't think, aside from knock on everyone's door, which is physically difficult.
That's kind of what we have to do, not to cut you. Go ahead,
finish.
Well, no, so that's what I was going to say, is maybe there's a way we can team up with them so that this doesn't keep happening, where people don't really know what's going on, or at least we can say, hey, any notices that affect your community are in the office, or if they have a newsletter to get out, because we put them in the paper, and they get like everyone gets that paper in the mail that's got info, but not everyone reads it. I mean, I don't necessarily read it because I get the notices here. So I'm just trying to think of a better way to communicate to people who maybe aren't looking at our traditional methods of communication for the future.
Well, and another complication that we have is that in the city of Groton, we have 64.7% renters, right? I don't know what that turnover is. I don't know what our turnover rate is. But I'm sure this was fairly well advertised back in 2016. How many times have people moved in and moved out of there since 16, right? And so, I mean, I agree with you. We got to figure out how to better communicate this to the residents that are going to be potentially impacted.
Well, I'm sorry. I know you probably, and I think, and it's not being able to figure out. I think when what you're speaking to, you know, renters, non-renters, and there's people that are well off rent too, you know. But in this specific, if you know, we know in the history of even that area, it's more of like a social economic thing, right? You can put it in the paper all you want, you know. If they aren't engaged or feel like they're, you know, that they're going to be heard, you know, could be misrepresented communities, you know. So I think we do need to. I think the Groton Estates, they do need to knock on doors, you know. They do need to go out of, you know, the traditional route that we can't assume that they're going to be looking at Facebook or even respond to it. Because even if they do respond to it, you know, generally those dynamics, they're not gonna reach out or respond to that, you know. Maybe they're feeling that they're not gonna be heard anyway, you know. So I think we do need to knock on doors. That complex isn't that big, you know. So I think that's one thing. That, you know, I mean, we knock on doors when we campaign. There's no reason why we can't knock on doors when we, you know, want to get everybody involved.
Councilor Sheffield?
Yeah, I would think a flyer for each of the residents that that Groton Estates, through their billing, if they're paying rent, put it right in the bill, and it goes right to the house, and add something right to it.
At least they know. Can't say.
Councilor Piazza?
Thank you. I was just going to say, when you had mentioned about Thames River Magnet School being open, they can go over that way. I know some of the kids that I used to drive for the bus did go over to West Side occasionally, but I'm very, as I go by that school every day and look at those playgrounds, I really wonder how open they're really going to be in question of liability of kids going on there. I'm not sure how accessible it's actually going to be, so I'm not sure if that's a sure thing that they'll be able to travel there to see it. My other thing is that when they build this building, I'm assuming that that will entail some property tax for some revenue, but then what will that do to their rent? You know, so is that an increase that they're looking at? That's what I'm thinking is going to be an end result for them. So, you know, those are things. And as far as how they get communication, because I know some of the children there and I've gotten to know some of their parents, is basically through their main office there, which is very small because they bring all the packages there. And it's very, very small. And they do have some boards there that they can actually post something. Or when the people come in to pay their bills, that they could actually hand them a notice if they want to spend the money on flyers for that.
Councilor McCabe?
Well, I understand that there's a sign on the property, correct? How long does that sign standardly go out before the public?
About 2 weeks in advance it goes out, I believe.
Okay, because I'm just thinking that that's one good way to get people to see it is if they're using the property. I would assume they're there and they could see the sign, and that should be another indicator that, I mean, maybe we could increase that to 1 month or something like that.
It was installed May 24th, and we were following the state statute that's got the period of when to put it out, and it's 163. And it's also on the town website, noticed as well.
May I ask, exactly where was the sign posted? Do you know?
Where?
Yeah.
We're going to put it right, that's on the property, on the lot, close to the street.
Yeah, because she had mentioned in the meeting that when she went for a walk, of driving in that area quite a bit, when she said the bottom of the hill, because actually when you circle around, is at the bottom of the lot toward the next building just beyond the lot then?
You can see it's basically sitting on the lot with the buildings behind it, right at the street edge of it, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I'll go by and see. But it's just interesting how she said she walked and that the kids play there, and she said it was more toward the bottom, so it really doesn't matter though.
Because if you look at the end of where that empty lot is, there's several buildings before you get to the end of the road that cuts around by the wetlands back there and then comes into the other road. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Councilor Norris.
Sounds like this is just a tip of a larger problem. If more than 60% of our city residents are renters, then we potentially have a engagement issue, which I would suggest is that this may be a task for economic development, because that's exactly what we're talking about right now.
Okay. Any other question or comments on this? Deputy Mayor Depot.
It was also brought up that traffic there is busy, and by Councilor Piazza, who is a bus driver, and not to steal your thunder on this, but I was thinking, is it possible if once the building goes up and it is an issue, that we could try to address it with whoever runs the school bus lines, or at least like see if maybe an alternate route would be safer, or different drop-off spots would be safer, or something, if it does become a problem, just to keep in touch with them. Because obviously you can't control what people do with their property, and you can't really know what pedestrians are going to, you can't necessarily predict the patterns, but I just wanted to bring up that it's not impossible for us to get that feedback and then go to the town who runs the school system and say, hey, this is a problem in our community. This traffic pedestrian pattern is creating a safety issue. I just think that that is something that we should keep track of and maybe address if it becomes an issue. Maybe on this liaison committee thing.
Okay.
I just want to briefly, I think it's kind of, I mean, I appreciate that comment and you recognize that, and I think it's just for another time, but just being in there and driving in there, it is like, but I would have to say when I think about a building, and there's pros and cons to it. One of the pros is that, so the kids are going to exit, but as far as safety, when we do the contract, we're actually negotiating now, but so STA goes in there, we do every single time we think anything is a safety issue, the bus drivers write it up. And we decide from there with our management if we should do a different stop or something. And I mean, it does go to the Board of Ed if it has to change the whole stop, but if it's just specifically a kid, but so, that's how we usually decide them.
Okay. Councilor Norris.
I'm sorry, one last question. So we know the square footage of the facility, the building, but do we know how much space that is actually taking up of the total open space?
We know the building size is it's going to be
2,500 square feet?
Yeah.
50 by 50 maybe.
How big is the lot? Acreage wise.
Let me get a picture that shows the size of this.
Sorry.
Nope. If you look at the lot is significantly bigger. The lot is probably as big as 4 of the apartment houses alone. If you took, so those are each, hold on a second. If you want to pass this around, you can see the size of the lot relative to the buildings. That'll give you an idea of the buildings that are there already, the housing units that are there.
What is the cutout in the corner?
That's the second piece, that's the second parcel.
Right.
Yes, the zero.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's why it has 2 addresses, 012 Revere and 80 plus, which is not an address, but it's 80 plus right there now. I don't know why the plus. Looks like it's about 200 feet by.
I wonder how big each one of these are.
How come nobody from Groton Estates came? Yeah.
So we said the size of the facility was,
It's no more than 25, it's 5,000 square feet, but no more than 2,500 per
Okay.
floor. So,
all right,
and the 2,500 square feet is what 50.
right. So it's going to take up about a quarter of that open space, I would assume.
So I just wanted to say on this, just to make it clearer, so we have Shenecosset up here. So when we enter, we're looking at Branford. So this is the open space. The playground that she was actually talking about this is where a lot of the buses drop right here. This road that connects Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. A lot of the children, when they wait for the bus, hang out in this open space. A lot, most of the time. Some of them come from the houses, crossing, but a lot of the children play here. And then across the way, the small playground that is there, that's where they do play. But most of them are hanging out here, playing. Sometimes when in the winter, in the snow and the ice, they're sliding down the hill, they're hanging out there. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments regarding this resolution? All right, in that case, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Are we not voting?
We're not voting, we have a motion and a second, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Yes,
Okay. All right, so if we're done with discussion, I'll take a vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and just the hands, that's you two? Okay, well, so, all right, do this. Put your hand up in the air if you're for it. All right, so we have two opposed. Okay, abstentions. So motion fails 2-4 to 0. So we'll have to see where we go from here. Okay, go to the next motion, R-21-6-91.
We're not.
Well, I said,
Yeah, we're gonna revisit what, I made a motion to.
yes, but I want to get him through.
Oh,
I have two items.
He's got the next one.
Yes.
So anyway, for this one, what I want to do is I want to suspend the rules and make a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 21st, 2021, to allow for the 8/24 to be conducted on the 15th.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so. All right. So you want,
The last motion. 108, yeah, 21-6-108.
okay, R-21-6-108. So I need, yeah, on page 11. So I need a motion to suspend the rules to move R-21-6-108 to right after R-21-6-91.
For moving, I just need a second.
Well, I need you're
Right.
making the motion?
Yep, so I just
Okay,
need a second.
so I need a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. So let's move, let's do R-21-6-108. Counselor Norris?
I'm sorry for it.
It's on page 11. Well, it starts on 11. The actual motion is on page Where is it, 16, 15? No, 16.
16.
Oh, this one. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt the rules of procedure for the governor of the city council, city of Groton, Groton, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. I'll open the floor for discussion. Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, I'd like to put together a committee, a rules committee to, on top of resolution for this, but anything in the future that may come up, we should make sure we have 3 members assigned to, just in case we have any issues regarding the rules or anything with the charter.
In a standing committee, under page 14, under 7, there is a rules committee that is listed there. You have your standing committees, which are,
Yep.
and then the above committees, with the exception of the committee of the whole and a rules committee, should be arranged in 2 groups of 3 in each at the discretion of the mayor, which we put out earlier today. So you have the committee of the whole, and then you have the rules committee. So the rules committee, I'm open to discussion on how you guys want to do the rules committee.
Yeah, I was looking to volunteer as a member of the rules committee. I don't know if any 2 other members want to.
I'll volunteer.
Anyone else?
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to be on the? Sure. Okay, so at this point, there is no limit or limitation on the size of the rules committee, because you guys have not decided yet. So if you wanted, the whole council could be on the rules committee, or you could have 2 or 3 people. Probably, it makes sense that it's an odd number.
Yeah, I think
for the rules committee.
3 is usually what we've had in the past.
Well, but this is your opportunity to do what you want to do for this council.
Well,
Right?
we
Just
don't want
because we've
6.
done it. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I mean, I don't
That's
know.
okay.
It's up to the council.
Does it have to consist just of council members? Is it
Yes.
just council members?
Yes.
So right now, we have Councilor Sheffield Piazza and Deputy Mayor Depot. Okay, so that will be the Rules Committee. All right. What other discussion would you like to have on this?
I don't think I have anything further. I'm not sure.
Is there any other discussion on the rules? We have received no comment from, the mayor's office has not received any comments from the council, as far as I'm aware, regarding any issues associated with the rules. So are there any other comments on the rules?
Are we just talking about the rules committee or the, like, underneath?
Well, we have a resolution, and so that's what we're talking about the resolution. Councilor Sheffield recommended having the rules committee. We talked about the rules committee. We now have the rules committee established of the 3 members. So I want to talk about this resolution, R-21-6-108, and then once we're through with discussion, then we'll vote to accept this resolution. Are there questions or concerns on the rules? Are we ready to vote?
I just have one quick question.
Okay. Councilor Piazza.
I'm hoping I'm understanding this correctly. So on the standing committees, I just noticed that I made a mark that it was at the discretion of the mayor. So I received that, what committee I was put on, it was actually sent to me by email while we were in session. So is that how it went, was under your discretion? how it
Well,
was
I
split up?
think Jill reached out to everybody
Yes.
and asked for number 1, number 2, and tried to accommodate that as much as possible. And then I made the decision to put people on the rules. on the committees.
Okay.
Did that answer?
Yeah, I was just, I
question?
guess, I don't know, I was just a little confused.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, the
Councilor
only
Sheffield?
concern was that, the committee was selected by the secretary, and we weren't sure if there was confirmation.
Committee was not selected by the secretary. She's not a secretary. She is the
Are you sure about that?
executive administrative assistant.
Well, according to the budget, as it's listed, it's administrative secretary, but,
Okay.
I mean, once
What-
again, we
so
won't get into the
what-
semantic part, but I mean,
Okay,
the issue
but-
is that the email that we were delivered,
Many of the correspondence that you're going to get from the mayor's office will come from Jill. She
But-
is acting on
Correct,
my stead.
well,
And so when
that's
you're
not
getting it from
stipulated.
her, you're getting it from me.
Well, see, that's not stipulated. Sure, you could say that, but then that's not stipulated in the email itself. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Would
that-
you prefer to get all correspondence directly from me? If
This-
that's what you want, then we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
That is not what we've had in the last 4 years or in the last 10 years.
Oh, I
Typically,
disagree with
when
you for
Heidi
sure
was
there.
there, I dealt with Heidi and did not deal with Mary. And Mary, I received very little communication directly from the mayor.
We've done our committee assignments in public at the meeting, not so much having a previous, ruling, not so much a ruling, but previous via email of what committee assignments were coming out. That was always done on the record publicly. It wasn't done via email. So this is new to me.
So
as
we
far
did
as-
it. So we did it by email. So we have committee assignments. The committee whether the committee assignments were done publicly where everybody voted or whatever, or if I asked for recommendations and got your recommendations and then made a decision based on the emails, I guess I don't understand what the issue is.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Councilor
But-
Carter, you have the floor.
It's getting late. And so traditionally, I hear what you're saying. We have done that like the same day in public. We've all agreed. So it is different than in the past. But let's move on from here. I think if people have any conflicting things or some conflicting, we shouldn't argue or do that right now. Maybe we do a caucus before another meeting and just take it from there. But traditionally, yes, we have done, this is my third term, and we have done it in public. So it is a difference. So I understand what he's saying, but I think there may be a reason for it, but let's maybe not discuss that here.
Okay?
I was just,
It has, we have done it in public.
I agree with Councilor Carter saying, I was just saying for myself when I read it, it was like at the discretion of the mayor. And I remember last time we had met, you said, at the meeting itself, you said, not everybody had put in their choices, and you kind of looked this way at the table. And I was personally thought it was me because I had just got my email, I just got my email established, so I just sent it in that day.
Understand.
So then I got my email during the meeting, so I thought, well, did I skip a step here that, at the discretion of the mayor? Because I don't know, I guess, I got it from Jill, I didn't, so when I read that, I was like, oh, was I supposed to do something different since it was yours? Because you had asked in the meeting, I just sent it.
Yep.
So.
Okay, any other questions on this, or comments on this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, so this one is done.
192.
Okay, where are we? The Deputy Mayor Depot.
Oh. There we go.
R-21-6-92 on page 2. Well, 2 and 3.
Okay. R-21-6-92, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the reappointment of James Streeter, 64 Pleasant Street, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member, Planning and Zoning Commission, term to expire on June 30th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Resolution R-21-6-93, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the reappointment of Susan Bergeron, 781 Shenecasset Road, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member, Planning and Zoning Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
R-21-6-95.
94.
94.
Sorry, my apologies.
94. I stand corrected. R-21-6-94. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Terry Rice, 67 Ramsdale Street, Groton, Connecticut, as alternate member, Planning and Zoning Commission, term to expire on June 30th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-21-6-95, therefore be resolved that the mayor and, that the council approve the appointment of Charles Wong, 42 Jupiter Point Road, Groton, Connecticut, as an alternative member of the Harbor Management Commission, term to expire on April 5th, 2025. So I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Just a clerical thing. It should say mayor and council.
Okay.
Oh, so I was right.
Yes.
See?
Okay. Then it will be reflected in the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Where am I? Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-21-6-96, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the Groton Utilities electric budgets for fiscal year 2021-2022 pursuant to the City of Groton Charter, Article 11, Section 4A. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Norris.
R-21-6-97, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the City of Groton Department of Utilities water budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 pursuant to the City of Groton Charter, Article 11, Section 4A. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Waiting on me. You're right. I was listening.
Long night.
Opposed? I know, you're in a hurry. Opposed? Abstention. Motion carries. Where am I? Councilor Sheffield.
What?
Oh, no.
No.
You're after it. Deputy Mayor Depot. It's been a long day.
Resolution R-21-6-98, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the City of Groton Department of Utilities sewer budgets for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 pursuant to the City of Groton Charter, Article 11, Section 4A. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-21-6-99. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to purchase annual maintenance and support for the period from July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 for the Springbrook Financial Accounting System as used by the City of Groton Utilities and Bosra Light and Power Company for the sole source provider Springbrook Holding Company, LLC, 1000 Southwest Broadway, Suite 1900, Portland, Oregon, for an amount not to exceed $62,020.35 to be paid from funds available in the fiscal year 2022 Utilities Finance and Accounting Budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
R-21-6-100. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order not to exceed $571,000 and no cents, including a 25% contingency, to BHI Energy T&D Services, 500 Columbia Drive, Suite 100, West Palm Beach, Florida, for Eastern Connecticut ECT terminal line upgrade from 69 kilovolts, is that correct?
Yes.
To 115 kilovolts per the ISO New England. Approval of June 2020 to be paid by the transmission lines 1410/1280/400 Bunnington Substation, fiscal year 2021 bond fund project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-21-6-101. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Manager to issue a purchase order not to exceed $172,865, including 10% contingency to the did I say it right the first time? Acceptance Group, Inc., 1950 Old Highway 8, Northwest New Brighton, Minnesota, for purchase of a low-lift pump station intake screens as sole source provider to be paid as part of a low-lift pump station project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-6-102. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the request for a memorial bench at Eastern Point Beach in honor of Walt Conley, in accordance with the procedures for consideration of the Beach and Parks Memorials as approved by the mayor and council. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did we talk about this one at the council? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Norris.
R-21-6-103. All right. Be it resolved that the mayor and council accept the Cellulite Connecticut Summer Program Expansion Grant Award in the amount of $23,340.00 to be utilized to expand the number of children that can participate in the Parks and Recreation Summer Playground Program and provide additional enrichment. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We had not brought this to you before. We just received this award last week, and so we have programs that are getting ready to start. So I asked Director Hill to bring it to the council today. So Mary, if you could just quickly give us a brief on this.
So this was a grant that came out of the Connecticut State Department of Education. This grant's going to enable us to offer our summer program to the kids that from Brentford Manor and Groton Estates, due to the fact that the West Side site for the second year is it's still under construction, so we don't have that availability. So it enables us to give some scholarships to these to children that need them, and bus transportation. We've set up with St. John's Church to use their parking lot as our bus stop and drop off. The enrichment program, part of it, the Groton Public Schools Food Services currently has a school to farm program. So we're going to kind of extend that and do a camp to farm program show the kids what they can do with fresh vegetables and also incorporate the farmer's market that meets at the park on Tuesdays. It starts as the kids are dismissed and are picked up. So try to figure out how to do that with the kids that are transported back and forth, but the rest of the kids that are at Washington Park can do that. So we put in we could go up to $25,000 is what we were eligible for. So breaking down the budget with the scholarships, the transportation, and the program, the enrichment program, this is the dollar amount we came up with. We had like a two and a half week turnaround. It was due on the 10th, and we found out on the 24th that we received it.
Questions for the director? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Less of a question, but I just wanted to comment. I thought this was really cool, and when I read it, one of the times that I volunteered with the nutrition program to do the food boxes, one of the people from the farm to school program was there, and so I got to chat with her a little bit, and it is really cool the way they're trying to integrate into the school system, so it's neat that we're doing it with our camp programs also. And it does stink that the West Side, now Thames River Magnet School, isn't finished yet. Hopefully for next year that'll give us get us back to kind of normal and better facilities. But so that I think this is really cool and a cool idea to kind of integrate everything too.
And one of the things with this is, you just got to remember that these kids are being fed as well with the nutritional programs. And in some cases, they get breakfast and lunch, that's all they get. So this is going to help them. And it allows us to expand the programs, and that's a good thing that we're doing. So any other questions or comments on this? Councilor Piazza.
You just had stated, Ms. Hill, about it was for Groton Estates and Branford Manor. That's only for those residents only?
That area.
Oh, and
Yeah.
so surrounding areas also.
So kind of there's we had 125 kids that used to come to the West Side site prior to it being torn down last year, and then not quite ready for us this year. We did make concessions last year to try to go to the Marine Science School. That age group, that up there, we only got 6 kids that register for that site last year, so we just moved them to Washington Park. So this way, we don't have to worry about trying to find a location. We're just going to bus them. So we're going to work on a flyer to get out to those in the area and let people know that we're doing this. With scholarships, we'll let them know that we have those. We have full and partial scholarships as part of our budget for the grant.
And will that be on the Parks and Rec website for the parents to see also? Okay, wonderful.
And we'll find other ways. We'll work with maybe the offices at Branford Manor and Groton Estates, because that's where a majority of the kids come from when they come to Washington Park. Not Washington Park, West Side. They walk. So maybe use their community service boards and stuff in their community, so that way they're aware of it. Because a lot of they may not have Facebook or the website to look at because of a lack of a computer.
So we're trying to get the information out to the kiddos, actually to the parents, and then to the kiddos as well.
We wanted to get some of the logistics with the bus transportation and where we're going to drop them off, so we'd have some information to share on the flyer, so we wouldn't just be like, here.
Probably down to the church too.
Yep. Another thing that we're doing, and I don't know if the council or if you guys are all receiving this, but the city also has a newsletter, an email newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks. And so that's another method that we're using to try to get the information out to people. So, any other, Councilor Norris?
I really just wanted to say thank you, because I know that this was a really quick turnaround grant, but it shows the connection to the community that you have and understanding their needs, being able to put your foot to the pedal and get things out the door. And I know you understand engagement very well. So congratulations and thank you on behalf of the residents.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, in that case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Resolution R-21-6-104, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council approve the awarding of auditing services for fiscal year July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 to Clifton Larson Allen LLP, 29 South Main Street, West Hartford, Connecticut, to be paid from city electric, water, and sewer general funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ron, would you like to address this?
This is just the annual appointment of the auditor. Last year, we did do an RFP for auditing services. We had 2 respondents. Bloom Shapiro was the low bid on that over the course of the 5-year span. They subsequently merged with Clifton Larson Allen. It's still the same group of people is just an actual merger, so that bid still does hold from the previous year, so that's still all being honored. So this is really just the reappointment of the auditing firm.
Okay, Councilor Sheffield?
Yeah, for the new council members, do they have any packet regarding maybe the history of Blum Shapiro, so they get an idea of, what the auditing services do? Because something,
Yeah, we can get their profile and put something together with their background for you. They are a large firm. Blum Shapiro was actually a large firm that did a lot of municipal auditing. Those firms are kind of dwindling down that still do the municipal auditing. We had 2 respondents to the RFP last year when we put it out, with Bloom being one. Again, now with the merger, that's Clifton, Larson, Allen.
This auditing is typically referred to as a CAFR, Consolidated Annual Financial Report, where they look at our accounting techniques and they audit us. They're not doing a intrinsic audit or anything like that. They're looking to make sure that we're following the procedures and policies, and that we're following our procedures and policies, standard accounting practices, and then they issue a report. So, on the health of our system. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Resolution R-21-6-105, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the transfer of $9,191.31 to the tax collector's suspense tax book. I so move.
Okay, we have a motion, second, that should be 38 cents.
30, oh, yep, thank you, 38 cents, thank you.
All right, we have a motion, second. We did discuss this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
R-21-6-106. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the temporary use and consumption of alcohol at Eastern Point Beach on September 12th, 2021 as part of the Brew Run/Brew Fest hosted by the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Groton Utilities pursuant to the provisions of Eastern Point Beach rules and regulations. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We discussed this during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-21-6-10107, therefore be resolved that the mayor and council, therefore be resolved that the mayor and council reappoint the firm of Bertram and Moses, P.C., 75 Broad Street, Milford, Connecticut, as the City of Groton attorney to be effective upon passage. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. They are our current law firm. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Any Councilor McCabe for 109.
Resolution R-21-6-109. Therefore be it resolved, the mayor and council authorize the city of Groton to purchase bidirectional amplifiers from Communications Plus LLC, 84 Salem Turnpike, Norwich, Connecticut, for a total cost of $25,086.00 to be paid from the current fiscal year police department operating budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, Chief, if you could come up. This is new that has come up to us. So I'll let the chief fill us in.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. What we found is our radio system is great outside. It's able us to contact and reach out and work with other local agencies. But one thing that we have learned is inside the building itself, because of the barriers of the glass and the cement and the steel structure, not every time we get service inside. So I'm sitting back here in the corner, I didn't have any service for my pack set. Dispatch is fine, but if we're walking around the building, something happens on the other side. Usually it's the interior structure. So when you have a drill, we don't get service on our portables very much. It's a 50-50 shot, come and go. So we went with Communications Plus. They did an internal survey on signal strength inside, and we came up with a bi-directional amplifier, amplifier, which is an antenna itself, which will run the whole length of the city police department down the hallway. It'll cover this side, that side, the basement, and building and zoning down in the basement area. So we have communications if something happens internally. So it'll help us when we're not at dispatch itself. We can hear what's going on and we can respond. Because I got one call while I was sitting in here. So for a safety issue, something happening, we would like to put a bidirectional antenna in.
So what this will do is this will help eliminate the dead spots that we have in the building. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Two questions. How did we choose Communications Plus to do the survey?
They're the ones that provide us with the radios and all of our internal systems. That is where we get our radios from, our car service from, all the cameras in the city building. That is our supplier.
Okay, so they're already the supplier of all of
Correct.
our radios, so it's not something that would make sense to go out and bid, even though it is a project over $10,000. Normally we would bid that, but we're not, because it is the current company that services our equipment.
Yes.
That is accurate. I'm pretty sure they're still on the state bid list as well.
Yes.
But that was the reason for going with them, is they're the ones who did the original install. So it just made sense to keep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilor Norris.
Procedural question. I get the first part of what the deputy mayor was saying, but is this over a threshold? That's why council has to approve this?
Anything over $10,000 has to be approved by the council.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor McCabe.
Yeah, mine's more of a comment. Unfortunately, in this day and age where safety is such an issue, especially in public buildings, the thought that you don't have service when you're right here in the municipal building is actually a little disturbing to me personally. So I'm very glad that you're taking care of this so that everyone in this building can feel safe.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments regarding this resolution? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, council, for coming out. It's been a long night. We got a lot done.